Long time no see.
Yeah, I know.
We're actually gonna be in command,
Okay.
so.
Whose command do you want to hold up?
I think it'll be Joanne's, because she has some testing in there. We're going into your command, right, Joanne?
I don't.
I have
Not memorized.
It's like 4 times, 4
Yeah.
tries.
And I
Spell your
spend so
last
much
name
time
right?
with Zoom. There's only one.
There's only one S.
Oh, yeah. And I was
like,
in
babe,
West
that
to
didn't
go to the
work.
allergist, and I thought, well, this is right on my way home.
Oh,
It's perfect. to just
Do you
go
remember
there.
it?
Yeah,
Okay.
sort of. What's capital, what isn't?
That one.
I don't know, it's probably the same height, and I just changed chairs for no reason.
Well, at least
Yeah.
now you have arms.
True. Do you have a number of your name?
I'm Melody.
Hi, Melody,
Melody.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
To you then, so you can navigate.
I am brand new, so in the process of trying to learn how to communicate with everybody I know.
Yeah.
I'm taking all these classes, so when I do find someone who needs me, I'll be ready
You'll
to
be ready.
go.
That's a great idea.
I just got my trainer to agree last night to give me his full mailing list,
Oh, wow.
so that'll be a
Nice.
big one.
Yeah. Where do you train?
Metro Fitness in Hilliard. We used to live in Hilliard, and when I moved 12 years ago, I told my husband, I said, I have to still be within driving distance to go to my trainer because he changed my life,
Yeah,
you know, just from doing things to
From-
stay healthy.
and your RA and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Good.
Even though I need a knee replacement now, he staved off, I think, the knee issues because of all his squats he was making me do.
Strength exercise.
Those
Right.
are, yeah,
Yeah.
those are tough.
Yeah.
Oops. Now we got people logged in on Zoom. I don't know how many people are registered.
But I do, just pump the mouse and that's what I do. It's not working. Well, I've been.
I think it's froze for a second.
We're
already sharing screen and it's recording.
A little more recent, so I've been here a couple of years.
Okay. Always doing single family.
Hey, Sarah.
Not necessarily.
There's a total of 18, or you can zoom it in here.
Okay.
I've been at like corporate dinners, brands that worked with that, but, you know.
The mouse is not
working, so I've been working.
That's not working.
So
Hello, hello.
when I first started, I was
Well,
listening to somebody. in a really small town.
Okay.
Hot enough out there?
Oh, it feels like an oven.
Does it?
Hey, do, Bonnie. Good, things going well?
When do you leave
So
on
far,
vacation?
you know.
I just got back.
Oh, you got back, was this
Yeah.
past
I
weekend?
went Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Was it
Monday.
fun?
It was so much fun. I had a great time.
Horse country.
I was, and I got to
Bourbon Trail?
had a lot of Bourbon Trail and horse country. So
Okay.
went to Claiborne and Gainesboro Horse Farms where they had these amazing mares and stallions. And actually got to pet a bunch of the foals and some of the stallions, which I was shocked that we could do that, but they were beautiful.
Have fun.
It was, we had a great time. And the weather was like mid-70s to 80.
I know.
Oh, wow.
The weather was perfect.
We're
So-
starting somewhere.
You would sign in, yeah, for your points, for your team points.
Pass that around.
Time to rework the lunch.
Yeah.
Just say, go down 1 year to the Bourbon sale.
What's happening up in
awesome.
Lewis Center?
I've seen Keeneland.
I don't know, I've been here.
Through it, but
Yeah.
never really any of the sales. or anything. Yeah, my boyfriend has.
Yeah,
He's been
my,
in there a lot.
my daughter has a picture taken with Bob.
No, it's cool.
Oh, cool.
May not be quite as popular nowadays.
Yeah, but
however,
he will be
He
again.
was so cool.
Yeah.
He was so good about it.
Get
She was
more
probably
normal.
12 or 13,
Yeah.
and
Oh, wow.
We sat there and watched her and I watched all that happen. It was so
Yeah,
neat.
that would be, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
So does everyone need to
While you're
sign
on a
in?
good
or-
team. Yeah, for your team points. This
Oh,
counts,
right.
counts toward the,
Yes.
toward your contest. And our Zoom people, I think we need to know who you are for your team points as well. So,
Chat. There's Bill.
who's there from Re-Equity? Zach. Zach. Do you want me to write his name down? Yeah, let's put on a Zoom list on the other side. Hi, girls.
Wow.
This is called compliance A to Z,
Wow.
or doing things right the first time so I don't have to return it. Okay then. That was kind of too long for me to put on the flyer and the social media.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I have some.
Somebody else log it in?
We'll pull those later.
Okay,
Don't worry about that.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, so they can get their points.
Yeah.
Okay. I see Jean's there. All right, we're gonna make sure you're covered, Zoom people. Rachel, this is not working.
It's already on.
You can go upstairs. You can't go to Market Center.
I don't want to be in work.
Oh, you wanna be in your man.
Okay.
Karen's going. Okay.
All
All right, I think in the interest of time, your time and which is valuable. we'll get
Lori and
started.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, so we're gonna start today with a listing. With a contact that becomes a listing, okay? We're gonna take you through that process completely. Some things that I commonly see that are not really being done as excellently as they should be, and so we want to sharpen up some stuff. So we're gonna go into, Joanna's created a listing,
What we're gonna create,
Opportunity.
we're actually gonna create
Create.
the opportunity,
create the
just so you
opportunity.
can see from the very beginning. I've got some fake names in here and we're just gonna go with those. So we're gonna create it. And you do have to have the person in your contacts before you can create an opportunity. You can't do it all at one time. And you should have your .loop or DocuSign set up before you create the opportunity as well, so they can talk to each other. So we're gonna do a listing. And like client. Whoops. Is Meredith Gray. So here's where you can name your listing. Name your opportunity, I'm sorry. On a listing, you know the address. With a buyer, you don't necessarily have an address yet. So you can change the opportunity. You can certainly leave the client's name there.
After the address.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, we can find it either way.
Yeah,
but
either way, yeah.
It's easier for me to look up the address.
Section 5. And if you wanted to tag it with whatever, so you can do your marketing later, you can do that. Anything with a red star needs to be filled in. When you start it with a listing, if you have an address, you're probably well along. You've had, maybe you're going on the appointment to get the paper signed. Maybe it's already active, but we'll go with appointment for now. And it's scheduled. So we're going to create, and if you miss something, it'll tell you. And
That's
you'll
what it
go
looks
back.
like. Yeah.
So here's our opportunity name, who owns it, and the face is right here. And you can change any of that by
to the
going
pencil.
here. Okay, so next we're gonna want to put documents in here. So you've got a choice of a checklist. This is key. So this is going to be a residential listing. And then there's other options. Oh, if you have a referral, or if it's a new build, because new build needs less documents than the regular. So make
You've
sure you
listed
choose
a
that.
new build.
Okay, so we're at residential. So now we see all the documents that may be required to complete this transaction.
All right, the first document we're gonna look at is the exclusive right to represent seller. So I'm gonna go completely through how this is supposed to be filled out, okay? All right, the day the client signs is the day the listing commences with us, not the day it goes in MLS. Typically, we'll run it through 6 months, would be most of you, 120 to 180 days for the expiration. If we have not established yet price, I allow TBD to be determined. And if we haven't established the time frame for it to go live, first in coming soon and then inactive or straight to active, you can put in TBD. The listing is with us though for 6 months. We have a listing in-house. Okay, when it's signed with us. When you establish those dates, I need you to go back in, fill them in, and they must be initialed. Okay, we're forgetting to do that. So that's got to happen.
Got some questions, Lauren.
Question.
Which date, what's the date this contract, listing contract was dated last? This one?
Oh, this is an old one, Joanne. Where did that come from? That's not the new listing agreement.
Uh-oh, okay. Well, let's look at it in .loop then.
Yeah,
Hmm.
sorry about that. That was an old, you must have created that for training
It
way
should be in
back.
that listing packet at the top.
Yeah,
Here,
here. Thank you for catching that, Carol.
Sure.
Okay, here we go. All right, so we have the listing dates that it's with us, the price or TBD, the MLS entry date, which is either going first to active or first to coming soon. If coming soon, then when will it be active? And those dates can be no more than 30 days apart.
Do you
Okay,
do two TBD on those?
you can do that
Okay, I've never done that.
while it's in office exclusive time.
Got it.
Which we're gonna talk about.
Okay.
When we've established when we're going live to the market, to public MLS. I need you to change it in here and get it initial. Okay,
So what you're saying, Lori, then, and I know the answer, I'm just helping if I can, what you're saying is don't have them re-sign the document,
no, just
just
initial,
initial the change.
correct? Let's just create a little text box and get it initial, okay? Or if you're doing it manually, take it to them, they can initial it. So I can see that you didn't come up with some date and put it in the MLS and they didn't. We want all our bases covered, okay? All right, so moving on, the next up here. Many of you don't use a protection period. I don't know why not, because times are changing and you may need that again, but I see that can be, I recommend that be 90 days. What? Just a recommendation.
That's what I use.
I've never not given myself a protection period. The seller has to initial the use of the lockbox.
Gotta change that in everybody's loops too. Is
These
there a new-
discussions
Yeah.
that we had at the time of the listing,
Adding 3 more pages, right?
and have them initial, that they'll decide on an individual basis what they're going to disclose and not. You can do that. Make some notes here, but these questions have got to be raised with the seller as whether we're releasing information on multiple offers or whatever, okay?
Lori,
And comparable.
can I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. Sorry.
That's okay.
So a lot of time, what I do, and I want to make sure this is okay, this is why I'm here, is I will have that pre-check, yes, that I can do that. But then in my conversation with the seller, I say, look, I'm not just gonna randomly tell them
Right.
this information, I'm gonna
Right.
talk to you first, then do it. But if you say yes here, then it allows me to do it later when we decide.
And that's fine.
Is that okay?
It's how you explain it, but we've got to have their permission at the time to disclose. Okay, so if you get carte blanche permission up front, then you can say what Carol says, which is, I won't do this. We will discuss it at the time. Because some people think that what you disclose to one agent in a multiple offer, you must disclose to the others, and that is not true. That is not true. Okay, your seller can select who they want what disclosed to and when. Okay, that's for another day. Okay, here we are. Okay. Yeah, electronic surveillance, we need for that to be checked. Okay, right here. If we have special remarks, we have transaction fees that we're charging. That gets filled in here, and that must be signed here by the owner. This is not for your signature. Okay.
She's looking at me because I always sign her.
I'm looking at
I
all
know
of
where to sign, I just sign it, it's
it.
good.
Here's where you sign.
Okay, thank you.
All right, this is for anything remarks or C relocation addendum attached or transaction fee of whatever. And then the seller signs here, okay? So the seller is signing there, the general listing agreement, they're acknowledging remarks over here. Everybody got that? Everybody in Zoom land? Then Your name must, you must sign on behalf of the brokerage. You must sign on behalf of the brokerage here.
Oh.
When you're accepting the listing.
I think it's templated that way, so I'll fix that.
Yeah. All right.
Lori, are you saying in the remarks if you're adding an additional commission, it goes there?
Or there's relocation addendums that are
Okay.
attached or
Just want
whatever.
to be clear on that.
Seller acknowledgement there. Everybody good there? That is how a listing agreement should be. Questions on the chat? Okay. Okay. Now we're good. Everybody good? Okay. Next document.
Okay, we've got the, which we don't have in here, so.
Right. So the next required document is, once it's going in, coming soon, whichever happens first, coming soon or active, okay? It must go to the seller for approval. The printout with the A2A remarks only, or the residential input form, which doesn't show there, but that is acceptable. You know, when you enter your listing in MLS, it gives you an option to print input form. That's the one you should use. That's a really good one because it automatically has lines for the seller to sign. And you send it over there and that has all the remarks printed. The worksheet is not acceptable. Okay. The input form, because then I can actually see what is printed in MLS. And that's what I need to see.
And I'm sorry, that's just
Primarily-
called input form,
Residential input form,
okay.
when you enter a listing in MLS, it gives you the option to print that. And you could email it directly to your sellers and say to them, this is how it's gonna look in MLS. Are we okay? It's an extra touch and it's a good touch. Okay? Protects us, the backstory on that is we had a seller who lied to us about improvements on his property. Told us new siding was installed in 2017. This happened in 2018. The buyer did not conduct a home inspection. Buyer working with another brokerage. The seller also had texted us the things he wanted to see in property description, plus he initialed, actually signed the MLS printout. It was determined within 6 months that he lied. Our E&O totally covered us and there was no deductible because I make this compliance. So if you think it's a nuisance, let me say to you that twice it has saved our bacon since I've been broker here. And the E&O company just said to me flat out, we've never seen compliance this strict. You're good, no deductible for you or agent or anybody. So
Which
that's
keeps our
good.
costs down for our
Right,
E&O.
your E&O has not gone up. So that's the backstory on that. That's the necessity of it. So just when is that due? You had a question?
Oh, go ahead.
So people ask me about the deadlines. These documents do not come to me at closing. Okay? Within 3 days of being coming soon or active, this file must be submitted. Okay, not once it's in contract or down the road, right now, so I can correct anything that needs correcting. Okay,
And I wanted to point out, they're labeled, if they're required, they're required. I mean, there's
There's a
nothing we
reason.
can do about it.
Yeah.
Conditional, if you look at the information button, it tells you when it's required.
So we'll go back to our listing. We took the listing today. We haven't determined yet when we'll go live. So a brokerage exclusive waiver must be signed in that case. If we're not going in coming soon or active within 48 hours of the date they signed the listing agreement.
Didn't it used to be 72 hours?
It ain't anymore.
Okay.
Okay.
Darn.
48,
When did it change?
while back,
Oh, boy.
when.
But I don't need to worry about it. 'cause
When
I-
clear cooperation changed, okay? During this time, when it's in company, that is when you can present it on Airtable or not. It can be shown within the company or not. You can show it in your sphere or not. It's a company listing. Everybody good? All right. Consumer guide, of course, that's a mandatory document for buyers and sellers. You know that, that has to be signed, and that's signed immediately. The first encounter you have with either client. The anti-fraud disclosure is a required document. Our cyber insurance requires that. These are not optional. So brokerage exclusive waiver, let's pull that up. We've removed the old one that said office exclusive waiver. That's not correct. It's brokerage exclusive waiver. So Coldwell Banker can have all their branches available to show their listings. It's brokerage. So we want to take advantage of it when we can, okay, understand. And they made sure that it got changed from office to brokerage. Let me share with that, because I chair it. Okay, so we fill it out in agent remarks or owner's remarks. Typically what I see here is prepping for the market. Internal marketing immediately. Whatever your seller has instructed, okay? One of these is got to be filled out. Okay. The owners must sign. I love you, you can sign, but you can't sign for me. Okay, so it's got to come to me. So if you listed a property today, you should get that to me tomorrow. And then you have to send it to MLS corrections. Okay, immediately. You got 2 days. Okay, so get in the habit of doing it. So you take a listing on Friday night, your admin doesn't come in until Monday. What do you need to do? Learn how to send it to me. And send it to MLS.
You can send it to MLS directly through .loop too.
Correct. You enter them as the people. Question? Nope, no
There's
question.
a
Okay.
question here.
Question here. Who has signing ability as broker manager? Me and Jill. And Jill.
And
But me first. If I'm gone, Jill. Yes.
And in fact, we have to send it ourselves to the MLS.
Uh-huh.
What is the email?
On the form, Barbie.
Oh, it's on the form.
Scroll up.
MLS corrections.
Let's scroll up and
Where's my
see.
mouse?
It's, well,
The bottom.
we're at the bottom.
Oh, it's probably hidden by,
Yeah, it says MLS corrections at columbusrealtors.com. It just needs to be on file there. This protects you because remember, during this time when it's within the brokerage, there is no sign in the yard. Okay, no sign. So if somebody on the street has seen you go in and out, or, you know, pictures or whatever, you know, they talk to their agent. Don't they? Our neighbors nosy?
Yes.
Yeah. So they'll call MLS to see if we have a listing, or they'll look it up, and if we have it on file as a brokerage exclusive, they will say Capital Partners has it internally, period. They can't touch it. Okay? Very important form. Okay, what else we got? Now, your team disclosure. If you're on a team, the team disclosure must go to our client. It doesn't need to go to the co-oping agent down the road. It's an internal, the state saying the client must be notified if you're a team structure, and other members of the team may interact with your client. You're not interacting with somebody else's client.
They make us sign that all the time.
wrong.
I know.
They don't know what they're doing.
Ugh, that's on somebody else's listing and
That's-
they make you sign it when you have a.
And some brokers not understanding what disclosure is. We're disclosing to our client who will interact with them. Okay,
So I have a question. If another agent from another team sends you their team disclosure,
Mhm.
do your clients have to sign?
they
it?
do not.
Okay.
RPD. That's for every seller with some exceptions, okay? New build sellers, no. Properties in trusts, properties in estates. People who have inherited a property less than 1 year ago. Landlords who are selling to a tenant are exemptions. This is the form that is suggested you use. There is no mandate that if you're an exempted class, you use this form, but it's more explanatory and people are, you know, only too glad to. So if it falls in these categories, they're an exemption. Your property's in a trust and you're living there, you're exempt. But what you know, you must disclose. So it's probably a good idea to fill one out in that case. Living in a property does not determine exemption. Investors who sell their property are not exempt. Powers of attorney are not exempt. Ever. And no one can be power of attorney for a dead person. Believe me, I get these questions. Okay, no. So they can answer to the best of their ability, but they have to fill out their form. Nobody can go like this through the RPD. Answer the questions to the best of your ability. So when I tell you these things, it's you coaching your client. So let's go back to the RPD. In no case do you tell or write out verbiage for a seller for the questions. Ever. They're going to ask you, and your answer is disclose what you knew, what you know, disclose it all. Their words, you do not write the answers. Okay, I'm finding out that that might be happening, so we're not doing that. With elderly people, there's a tendency to maybe help them. We can't do that. We might want to have family members there to help them. Okay, we're not allowed to be interfering with this form.
Lori, I have a question.
Yeah,
Where they have like a condo association or a homeowners association, do you, tell me if I'm wrong, because I'll stop doing it, but I typically will point out, right here might be where you want to put your condo association.
Yeah, that's
payment.
fine.
That's okay.
That's fine.
And
We're
can I
just
also
not
point out
grading it.
like built-in appliances, you do have kitchen appliances, you know, should I do that or just not say anything about built-in appliances being?
Isn't that self-explanatory on the form?
No, people think it doesn't apply.
They do.
I
Really?
know, I know. I see it all the time, NA, because they get carried away and they start going down the form.
No, we can't get carried away with NA.
I know.
So,
All right.
yeah, we
Okay.
can monitor, we just can't dictate verbiage.
The built-in
Okay, there is a
appliances.
difference, okay? Incidentally, I haven't gotten word that the new form is in there yet. Have you seen it, Rachel?
Have not.
Okay. All right, back up, we'll get through a listing here. Out of here. Well, I think we still have. Maybe, we have lead-based paint. Okay, make sure you're using the 2012 document that allows for initials. The 2006 document does not. Initials on the questions, and what are you seeing, Joanne, as far as when we look at these, people are answering?
A lot of times the buyers have not initialed,
Mhm.
and they don't have to initial each one, they just have to initial. Right?
There
Mhm.
seems to be a
This
new
one.
form where the boxes, where if they do want the 10-day versus not wanting the 10-day. I'm seeing another form where they're not, there's no box for them to initial, just for them to check. And I don't know why. There's no box.
This would be the initial, and
Yeah.
then this would be the check.
And the initial part
This
is
buyer
not there on
has
these forms,
This or this?
and the initials aren't there though. Under E, there's no place.
Yeah, there's an initial for 1, 2, 3. The initials are here for
I
E.
know.
And this is the
In dot
two
loop, you're saying it's
choices.
not there?
Oh,
Yeah, and I'm seeing on my forms, it's not there though. The
Oh.
initial thing isn't there for them to initial for the box in E. Just check. It's just check box and that's it. But I'll,
We'll check, we'll
Yeah.
check on
well,
that.
yeah, you check, but the initials are out here.
Lead-based paint.
Okay, remember that you have to sign as the listing agent, you have to initial, and then you have to sign.
You need that only for the older property or for all properties?
Well, older,
Oh, so pre-70.
pre-78.
That is the platform.
Okay. Everybody good there? Okay, so make sure you have current form. All right, then if you're having, if the seller and you have discussed and you initially thought it was going to be one price and you're going to change the price, we need an email from the seller changing the price. You can use a data correction form, an MLS data correction form that you can have signed, either one, but an email is sufficient. And I have to see that. If this was a referral from another company, that's how you got this listing. The referral agreement goes here. And because we have to pay that other company their referral fee, we need their W-9.
Even if the ID is on the referral agreement, we still need the W-9.
IRS requires that. So questions about a listing. We know what to fill out, when to fill it out, and who's doing what.
I don't have a question about a listing. I do have a question about the process as a new
Mhm.
agent.
Okay.
I went through this. That when you start in Dotloop,
Mhm.
it does not automatically fill or bring into Command your documents. Am I
You've got
correct?
to see this, attach files from.
Right, so you have to literally bring those in. Am I right,
No, we've
Joanne?
gotta
If
So
you
what them to do?
start it- If you
Start-
start it in
started
Command, you
transact-
don't have to download them. If you start in Dotloop or DocuSign, then you have to download
Download.
them in the manual thing.
Okay, so where do you prefer that we start? Let's answer that question.
It doesn't matter to us, but
Okay,
for new, for that, it would be command, right?
Yes.
okay.
All right, I did it backwards. So we'll start a transaction.
Let's give Brian something.
You have to, yeah.
Let's
choose
just
how
put
it's
something in
gonna-
Brian's-
Choose the bubble to
Can't
the
real
left
estate.
of Keller Williams Capital.
Oh.
This
Yeah,
is where,
yeah,
this
yeah,
is where I
okay.
fell off the rails, so I didn't know where to start. So if you started here, then that you stay in there, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
Well, it
you can
takes-
go pull from .loop if you're using that for
that I
e-signature.
understand,
Yeah,
but the initial
you should
start,
always start with the contact, which is in Command.
okay, That's correct.
but some of you are not doing that. You're not using command to its fullest.
Well, you told us now that the contact has to be in first,
Yes.
not
Yeah.
after, so that's good information.
Yeah,
You can't create an opportunity without.
Without a
There you go,
contact.
correct.
When you go to the transaction, you get the choice of either dot loop or DocuSign.
Well, if they're, yeah,
Okay.
If you signed up for, you
So
know,
I,
your
yeah.
if I want to try dot loop, I need to sign up for it.
And I might have another answer for the Carol for your question, because if you can go into Loop and make your own templates. And you can bring in like a buyer template and then set up all your documents that
the
you
way we
need
used to.
right there in that template. And then you, as a new agent, they can go in and open up that whole thing and download all those documents from that template.
Right, I understand that, but I started in Dotloop because I just didn't know
Mhm.
to start in command, but now I know that I prefer to start in command because everything's there.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that was clear to everybody else because it was not to me.
Quick tip, if you need documents to take for a manual sign, a manual appointment, you can just quickly click on the document and you have the option to print those and take your packet with you. So print right from command. Okay? Any other questions? Right.
so once you're given an offer and it's accepted, you put it in here,
Mhm.
all the documents, and we'll go over that on the buyer side.
Mhm.
But let's say this buyer went through inspections and they've terminated. So down here, you've got your termination and your mutual release to put in here. So you get those in there, get them signed, put them in there. And
If
then,
that's if our seller is
Yeah,
gonna
that's-
sign a mutual release.
Yeah. so then somebody else comes along next day, makes an offer. You've got this listing already set up. Your listing documents are already approved.
Mhm.
You don't need to make a new opportunity, and you don't need to get rid of the documents that are in there. Actually, we want them in there.
Mhm.
You just click on this down arrow and you add a version. And we'll call it here under contract 2, or you can change it and make it somebody's name or the agent's name. And now we've got the template to do,
All new documents.
All new
going in
documents.
Under that listing.
and you can toggle back and forth between, 1 and 2. They look the same because there's nothing in here, but that way you have all the documents for everything.
Okay.
And if you have documents not necessarily for compliance, you can add a folder. Maybe it's your inspection documents or something really not related to the contract itself, but you want to keep it.
They can be texts and emails in a folder,
Approval letter, things like that.
a pre-approval
Yeah,
letter that
pre-approval
you've
letter.
got, that you showed your seller, but it's not a compliance document.
So you can put all those here. So you've got everything for your transaction all in one spot.
And I need to see those documents. So just keeping them in .loop, now I do have access to .loop now and I can find them. But you are responsible for making sure everything is in command.
And submit, right? You don't see it unless we submit it, or do you
Yeah.
still see it?
No, I will see custom folders
Okay.
under administrative. You know, I can see what was in there in case I get a call. Okay,
When there's a status change or something, do you want that submitted within a certain amount of time?
so we ask you, when you get it in contract on your listing, you have to submit that you've changed the status and we need the printout.
Within
So-
how long?
So that's down here.
I'm sorry, I was, sorry. No, what do you want?
The MLS printout. Here.
So when you have a status change, you have something,
You have to
Significant
report it
error.
in 24 hours.
that's it, okay.
24 hours.
Well, 24 hours to MLS, but when you resubmit to you or submit to you, we've already submitted, now something has changed significantly, you want that submitted to you within a certain period of time too, do you not?
How many days after signing the contract do they need to? submit
Three.
that?
Three, okay.
So that gives you time to report it to MLS and upload the printout.
And often you will not have the deposit notice because that's.
So we're gonna
typically
return
later.
it to you. That's not saying you did anything bad. It just means that there's something still outstanding. And more than likely, it's the deposit notice. You're waiting on the other side to tender the deposit. You could be waiting till 3 days after the remedy period or whatever. So.
And then when you get that deposit notice,
Then you-
submit it.
Then
You
you
want it to
resubmit.
be approved by the time you go to the closing table, so you know you're gonna get paid right away.
Nothing worse than us having to hold up the check. We don't want to do that. We
So-
don't want to do that.
I've added a document, so now I have the option to submit to the market center. So if all those were filled, I would submit it. Which I don't want to do because it'll go through compliance then. But
No, have to look at it.
And at this point, you can actually remove the document before you submit it. If you put the RPD in the exemption form location, you can delete it and
Before you submit.
and put it in the proper
Put it in
place.
the proper
Once you've
place.
submitted, you cannot delete anything. You would have to replace it with a blank document, something like that.
So what I don't want to see in a listing is you sending me a brokerage exclusive waiver after we're already active. What would you like me to do with that document? Because now you send that document to MLS, you're gonna get fined. Okay? That's a no-no. When again, does that have to come to me and to MLS within 48 hours of signature of the seller if we're not going coming soon or active? Right away, okay, right away. Not a week later, 2 weeks later, or, oh, I forgot. Because this one carries fines. Okay, so we want to make sure we're not doing that. I cannot sign something, a waiver, and send it to MLS if it's already an active listing. So what I'm telling you is you weren't compliant. Okay, you weren't. And we gotta hope nobody finds out, okay? Miss,
Just the 30 days, is that just in relation to the, coming sooner, is that?
coming soon to active can be no longer than,
But if you
30
take an
days.
active, if you have the opposite exclusive, but it's an in-house thing, how soon does that have to go in?
no limit for how long
Oh,
it
okay.
stays in-house.
Okay.
May stay with us forever. The seller doesn't want it in MLS. Remember, the sellers have choices. Okay? But once we're in the MLS, we gotta follow the rules. Okay, and then we have timelines. Good question. Because most people think we gotta, we don't. We don't. A lot of times we get called in January that they're thinking about for spring. And they gotta do fix up and you give them their honey-do list and stuff and it's 90 days. But we want it in-house. We want it protected here, okay? Sooner you get paperwork signed, the better it is for you, yes? Okay, so those are the required documents that we're gonna see on a listing that goes in contract. Anything else we have to talk about?
Yeah, the preliminary DA, this is something the market center adds. So you don't need to worry about that. And that we'll put in there, once you've submitted your commission, that creates the DA and we'll put it there and then take a minute to look at it and make sure everything looks right. Your split is okay, your team split's okay, the purchase price is right, that kind of thing.
DA stands for disbursement authorization. So how we're divvying out the money for newer agents, that's what that means, Barbara Jean.
But if, in fact, you want to be sure that your people will stay with you, so you have them sign the agreement,
Mhm.
even though you're not going on the market until whenever. We
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
How long are we allowed to have that?
That's what Missy just asked.
Forever.
It's forever,
Forever, so that's not a problem.
till the expiration date,
Right, right.
which is 4 or 6 months, or whatever you got. Yeah, forever.
Okay, cool.
All right, and then one last thing, the closed. When you close, right away, put your signed settlement statement in here. You don't know how many days I hold on to checks because there's no settlement statement and we can't pay it out until we get that. And I think, you're moving on to the next one and you forget about that. So, just make a note, first thing you do when you close, put that in here. And then we also need to have a copy of the sold MLS in there.
So you're going to be fined if it's not reported sold within 96 hours. And that was switched from 72 to 96 for COVID, and it just kept it. Okay. And still, I'm seeing people getting fined. 96 hours, come on. So therefore, we make it mandatory, so you can't get paid unless we see that. So that eliminate, because the reason I do that is so that you don't get fined from MLS
And that's only on the listing
on
side.
the listing side. You are the one who has to report it sold. Make sense? 96 hours. All right?
And we'll put in the final DA when we pay you. Sometimes your cap changes during the time it's in contract, so the final may not look like the preliminary, which is why you should look at the preliminary and say, hey, I didn't have any cap taken out, but in June, my cap starts over again. Don't worry, it's all done automatically. We'll take care of it. And if you cap in the meantime, you capped back in May and you submitted this in May, it's gonna take the cap out, but when we pay you, it won't. And your cap is your cap. and
On the day it closes,
On the day it closes. So,
which is a benefit. If you capped earlier in the month, you're gonna get your 100%. Okay?
all right, go to a buyer.
Mhm.
And we've got my favorite.
The Gilmore Girls.
And another thing, as far as these phases go, the market center can't see your opportunity unless it's an active phase. So you might have it in there and cultivate or appointment, we can't see
We
it.
can't.
And you'll say, I've got all my documents in there, but we don't know that, we can't see it. So make sure that you keep up with your phases. So we'll make this one active. Oops.
And I believe you can't see the commission unless it's under contract.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. And you can change your phase here. When you're just in your opportunity, you don't have to go back to that. There's a little pencil up here. And that's where you can edit your opportunity.
You can make it under contract. So we know with buyers, the opportunity name is the buyer name while we're working with them. When we put them into contract, we should really change the opportunity name to 100 Main Street dash so-and-so buyer, or buyer dash 100 Main Street. We need the address. Why? Because This buyer may not stay, may terminate 100 Main Street. Okay. Which we can terminate, we can create a new opportunity for this buyer under another address.
And when we get the checks, they come in
With an address,
with an address.
not a buyer name, many times from the title company.
I've become a very good sleuth, trying to
Figuring
figure
out.
out who's supposed to get paid sometimes.
When you bring it to us, of course, you write your name on the bottom, but when it gets couriered to us from a title company or wired,
Or when they.
we
drop
got
off an address
nothing.
check.
We don't know who we're doing, you know? So a little tip, maybe you tell your title company, could you reference on the check my name? Okay, be good.
All right, let's go to, you could fill this in too. Because this is a search field for the office as well, if you put the address in here. Okay, so we've got a checklist again. And again, you've got your new build. Please use this outgoing referral whenever you have a referral. You may not know the address of what, your cousin's moving to Washington State. You may not know the address, but you could at least put Washington State and maybe your cousin's name, just something, because we get referral checks with very little information. And often it's based on the title, the address of the title company that sends us a check. So we could see that you have a referral from Washington. And we give you a call and say, hey, is this yours? Were you expecting this one?
Yeah,
So-
and there is actually a referral compliance form, so we can see that you sent our W-9 out. And the referral form.
It's really just,
Right. The
just put the
referral
referral
agreement.
agreement in there,
Mhm.
and then we'll put the
It
final DA.
reminds you to send a
You don't
W-9.
need to do offers and commissions for a referral at all. It's pretty simple. Just put that agreement in there and give us some clue so that we can figure out.
Well, they
who it
might have
belongs to.
splits in their teams, that'll show up.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, so let's go to residential. This consultation is for you to use. There's nothing required in here. If you wanted to put some documents in here from your, maybe your notes.
Right.
Whatever, and you can add forms.
In there. Many
Yeah.
people put their consumer guide in there and then they move it along, but when you have a consultation, that's when you should be getting the consumer guide signed.
So under contract, again, we need the consumer guide, the anti-fraud, the agency disclosure, the buyer will initiate and send along with the contract. So we need the fully signed agency disclosure. The purchase contract, make sure you're using the new one.
We've gone through and made sure.
And you've got counter offers. And if you have 5 counter offers, you can just add a document and stick it down at
Yeah.
the bottom, it'll be fine.
We have something called additional documents.
Well, you can,
Yeah.
It's in the 3 dots on the far right.
On the far right, yeah.
so you
Add a
can add a
document.
document.
Call it
And
counter
you
number
notice this
4.
split and attached PDFs?
What's that? That's a
You
great.
can- You can split your, like if you scan it in as one whole long
Whole
document, you can split it right in here. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you do that in Dublin for
Well,
sure.
yeah, but you could do it here.
Yeah, that's great.
You can also export your documents from command to somebody if you want, and it can be password sensitive. So it's encrypted.
Some people want their attorneys sent the documents. You can do that then.
It was worth the class for you, Carol.
Right, the whole thing, I'm getting lots of stuff, I really am. That's great.
Okay, counter offer only if they, the sellers don't sign the original offer. Team disclosure again. Same property disclosure form choices, lead-based paint, only this time you'll have 2 signatures on it. Because the seller's gonna send
Same
you
with the RPD.
the right one.
Yeah.
Here's our MLS contingent form that needs to be in here. And use the,
Now, this is a buyer. So
use the
they're,
private form.
yeah, so they're printing out, you're printing out the other brokerage's listing form here. Okay,
And in both cases, make sure you're downloading the private with the agent information and the agent to agent remarks. So, you know, if you say, they promised me 3%, they only paid me 2.5,
we have it.
we have it, you know, they can go in and change it and
I
whatever.
can
So
make the broker call.
This is
This has
fairly
happened
new.
twice recently.
The receipt of deposit from the seller. If there's no earnest money, but you're giving money, the buyer's giving money to the seller,
Non-refundable.
non-refundable, just something that needs to
Their
go in there.
email saying we've received the money. Okay, goes there.
Again, we'll put the prelim DA. We've got referral agreement, W-9. If you have an addenda after the fact, seller is going to pay $500 of the buyer's closing costs or whatever it is, you can put that in here. There's a price change, a closing date. For Keller Mortgage, if you're using them, there is a
Mandatory affiliated business disclosure.
that you should be using. If you've waived the home inspection or appraisal, this needs to be completed.
Pull that form up.
Even if it's in the contract for the inspection, that they're waiving the inspection, we need this to be signed as well.
We are sending it back to you. It won't be compliant unless that's signed.
And I'm sorry, what is the name of that form?
It is called, well, the form is actually called if buyer chooses not to have.
Waiver of home inspection.
Waiver.
And any of these with the underline, there's a copy of the form there.
If we're selling a for sale by owner or an unlisted property, let's say, we do need the auditor's printout to verify that it was built on before or after 1978.
Make sure you put whatever piece of the auditor's printout has the year built in it.
It's no use to us unless that's there.
And then a fee agreement that they're gonna,
If the buyer is paying you, I need to see the buyer broker agreement or a buyer compensation agreement.
or
in
if it's
there.
a FISBO and they're paying you a
And-
fee agreement.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no teeth for you guys to be paid at closing.
We're working with a custom builder. We use, you know, if you come to contracts too, you know what form to use for your compensation. That goes in there. Okay. Anybody who hasn't come to contracts too, please do. Okay,
Termination of mutual release. And mutual release must be signed by Lori or Jill, which Lori's out.
Jill
Agents
is now
can't
our
sign it.
principal, so she can sign these.
I have a question on the deposit notice. Who all was allowed to sign that? Is operations allowed to sign that?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're just certifying that the money went to the brokerage.
Thank you.
All right, and then closed. You just, again, the settlement statement, and we'll put the final DA in. You do not need a copy of the MLS for a buyer.
Okay.
Okay, and then the fun part. The offers and commissions.
That's your fun part.
Yep,
I have my fun issues and she has hers.
so we're not gonna, you will not be paid unless this is completely filled out and submitted to the market center. We've had too many issues with assumptions, and we all know what happens when we assume, so you will not be paid. So you can use this simply just to get through, to get to the commission part. If you have multiple offers, you can put multiple offers in here and create a spreadsheet to show to your, so you wouldn't do it for a buyer, you would do it for a seller. So we're gonna create the offer. Okay, the close date. Let's play along and July 21st. And the property address. Oh. 7.
He's got
And you can see the drop down. There, Workstone, yeah. So we've got our buyer with her email. Anything with a star needs to be filled out. Looks like it's, oh. Representation, this is the other
side.
the other
Co-op.
side. Oops, I must have missed something. Yep. Oh. Okay, so the sale price is 400,000. And it's finicky, just play around. Percentage, oh, earnest money is, you don't need to use that. Because often it'll deduct it from the price, so.
The cash versus finance is not important because we don't know how much the buyer on our listing is putting down, so.
Okay. So here's where you can compare your offers.
All your offers.
Okay, so we've got, so we can add a new offer so that we could compare.
So are you talking about buyer that's making multiple offers?
No, it would be
No.
for a listing
A listing that's receiving.
that's
multiple
receiving
offers.
multiple offers.
Gotcha.
With this, yeah, we're
It's kind of like a
whoops.
net to seller,
Yeah,
a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
it creates a spreadsheet, so
I
I
see.
think, yeah,
So this
Okay.
is just a service document,
right.
okay, to help
Not-
the agents.
Not required.
Okay.
Yeah,
But you have to go through these steps to
Steps.
get to the commission.
Right, gotcha.
yeah, you do.
So we're gonna accept it. And now we're gonna manage commission. So 3% of 400 is $12,000. For whatever reason, it doesn't seem to pick up this contract date. Even though we've put it in.
But it still goes through with the. You have to go back and manually put it in.
Scroll down.
Thank you. There we go. Okay. So I can edit, if it's just me on it, it's already figured out, I'm done. I don't have to worry about it. If I was on a team and I was going to split the payment, then I would give myself whatever the rate is. And then you could calculate commission. If you're doing like let's say you had a showing agent and you were gonna pay them $500 for helping you. You would put their name in and you wouldn't put any units in. But you could put the $500 in.
But it has a star, which means it wants something in there.
It's got a zero.
The IRS
Okay,
would
so the
prefer
zeros-
this go through if you're paying rather than do a check to that agent. You really should take it through the company.
And then I put their name up at the top.
Yeah.
So, okay, so it could be my name and then it could be two different names up there then,
No, it would be one
Or-
name.
but what about me? How do I get paid? Pretend I'm Joanne.
You add another agent.
Yeah.
You have to add.
So we're gonna, oh, and down here, we can, if there's a bonus, if you're charging $249 transaction fee on your,
That's considered bonus.
you're gonna put that in here, and it's $249. And you do have to split that with the market center. Most people don't check that, but we catch it when we do the DAs. But that is, cap and royalty come out of that. So we can do that. We can add another one. We could have a deduction. And it could be for CARES.
There's concession.
It could be your transaction fee for, if you use contract to close. You could put that in here.
And outside admin.
We don't use inside referral at all. So never, ever, ever use inside referral, even. It would just be another agent here in our office. So you're gonna add the agent. If you
Consider that an inside referral.
You have an outside referral, you've got to fill this out, and you have to put a legitimate tax ID number in here. Do you need to see the? I don't know if it'll take this. But you do have to have it, oh, that's up here. The EIN, you have to put it in, if you can put zeros in here and it'll save, but when it comes to Widmore, it's rejected. It's like, we need a valid tax ID. So it's going to be sent back to you. And you're going to think you're done, but you're not, and you're going to get it returned. So make sure you look at that W-9 that you've requested and put that number in here. Okay. So let's get Joanne. Okay, we're gonna go away. How am I adding somebody?
Next to payments at the top,
Yeah.
above the blue box. Add another agent.
See,
No, scroll down. Where it says
right
payment.
there.
Gotcha, thank you. All right, so let's add Carol.
Got it.
There we go.
You're getting paid.
And she's getting 6,000. And they'll save changes, so total commission is 12,000, total commission is 12,000, plus we have a bonus. So we can submit it to the market center. Just because you hit that button doesn't mean it goes, unless it tells you it goes. Sometimes you'll get a red box up here, and that's if either your units don't equal or the commission doesn't equal.
Stuff's not adding up.
If, if I did 5,000 and 6,000, it wouldn't add up. And it would be rejected. Let's try that. Okay, so let's submit it. So I've got to go back and fix it. So once you submit it, it comes to my office and we create the DA. And it's very important that you do this as soon as you go into contract so that the office knows what we can expect coming up in the month as far as closings, company dollar, royalty, that kind of thing.
There's no way we can create a budget without knowing our open DAs. There's just no way.
So it's really important that you do this, even though if it gets terminated, it gets terminated. We'll end it. It's not a big deal. And once you've submitted this and it's been accepted, there's a button here that says terminate. So if you think, oh my gosh, it was supposed to be 60-40, not 50-50, you can terminate that one and redo it. Or you can shoot me an email and say, hey, can you change this to 60-40? Are there any questions on that? It really is, I mean, it flows. I think the biggest hang up is when you get to that managed commission, it doesn't look like it's, because the other button, I forget what it says, is blue and the managed commission is white. It doesn't look like it's a a button you can push, but that's the one you've got to push. Do you have any questions on compliance? Once you've submitted it to the market center, Lori checks the listings. We have compliance that checks the contracts and
Red flags,
close.
any ones that I need to look at. Poorly written stuff, not clear. Clean up. It's red flag back to me. What else? So everybody knows the deadlines. Yes? We know what we have to do with the brokerage exclusive waiver. The responsibility is not all on the admins. Okay? Sometimes we have to take some responsibility.
What about the RPD that's pending for us that are taking the listings, but kind of waiting for this thing? And we just go ahead and do the old one for now?
Oh, yeah, that won't change till January 1 as far as it being mandatory, the new
Okay.
one. So we're in kind of float time. As I said, it's really only the one real major change, but as soon as we get it so that you can use it, you know, easily. But we're checking on that kind of daily to see when that'll be.
It's not out yet.
No. So. There's a person at Columbus Realtors in charge of making sure that that happens. It's not always happening. Just saying. Sometimes we have to rely on others. What we can do ourselves, we know who's responsible for and whatever, but. So questions out there, anything in the chat? In our chat, see if we have everything. We're all clear on the listings, yes? We know how it has to be filled out, when it has to be filled out, when it has to be submitted. How long do we have before? How long do we have when we must get a brokerage exclusive waiver? What is the time frame? 48 hours. Okay. 48 hours. That's the deal, okay? No sign during office exclusive, brokerage exclusive, okay? When does the sign go up in coming soon? That day. Can have a coming soon rider, okay? You don't put a coming soon up 7 days before it is coming soon. Okay?
There's not coming soon, I promise.
That is $1,000.
Oh, really?
Second time, $5,000. And if you look at the balance sheet at Columbus Realtors, they're making money.
It's okay to put. the
Lockbox
outside.
violation is now $1,000.
People aren't always following that. They're like, don't worry. I'm like, no, we're gonna make this real. I've run into that. where
Only
agents
one
are-
way to police it. Who's got to do it?
One guy keep the key in his pocket.
Yeah, good. That'll work. That'll really work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the listings, you know, that there are obviously much more stringent rules when you're a listing agent. So you got to be on top of those.
With coming soon signs, is it okay to put open house instead of coming soon?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
It's got to be in coming soon in the
Of course.
in the MLS so that somebody can look for it there. If you have able to do 2 riders, then you could do it.
But don't you have to have the coming soon writer out there?
Well,
or-
you know, if it's just like one day,
Okay.
if you're having coming soon status for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 30 days, you gotta have the rider, kids. Okay. So have a few of those done for yourselves, those of you taking listings. Okay. I mean, you could, after the dead of night, it gets dark, you could put it up there so somebody could see it, tomorrow morning. Probably okay, but, don't be doing it. Now, during coming soon, can you show it? Yourself?
Nope.
That is why it is critical that if you do want to show it yourself, you have brokerage exclusive time. That's the only time you can, till it goes active. You cannot show it during coming soon. Nobody can. I think I've covered everything as far as the listing. 24 hours to change a listing status. If our sellers accepted a curb offer contingent on a satisfactory viewing of the property, that must take place before that 24-hour elapses that we have to change status. Okay?
You might say that again.
Okay. During our coming soon time, we get a curb offer. Because that's the only time that another agent can bring us an offer. Okay. The contract that the seller is accepting says that the buyer has to get in there for a satisfactory viewing. That needs to be done before your 24 hours elapses to a mandatory status change. Everybody got that?
And why is that, Lori?
Why is that? Because it's a violation of clear cooperation if we don't do that.
But why do we want to, waiting the 24 hours, so get them in there before the 24 hours is up?
And the reason we want to do that, well, A, we have to do it, and we have to follow a time frame for status change. But we don't have to change the status if the buyer doesn't like it and we move on and stay in our coming soon status. Everybody got it?
So time parameters have to be observant of that.
If a curb offer is accepted and coming.
Curb offers, yeah. So there's people out there who believe that it has to be automatically changed to active when you accept the contract.
You mean in contingent?
Yeah, they have to,
Not active.
well, you have to go active first.
Oh, I see, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Is that not true?
that is not true.
Okay.
A contract between a buyer and seller supersedes any MLS regulation. Any attorney will tell you that. The MLS can do nothing about that. Because the seller is free to sell their property to whomever, whenever. Okay? It's just, we have the burdens of rules in terms of reporting. And we have a 24-hour rule. But nobody can tell a seller not to accept a contract. I get a little nervous when I see no curb offers in A2A remarks. Do you know, even if you wrote that, I could still write you a curb offer and you would have to present that.
Right,
Under the
even in
laws of the
coming
state of
soon
Ohio.
Status.
Under the laws of the state of Ohio, you have to present all written offers. Okay, so you be very, very careful with that.
What if they can't do that inspection in 24 hours?
They're not gonna get the deal.
Don't sign the contract.
The seller can't because we're forced to report the status change. Okay? They'll have to wait
Until it goes active or,
depends on how much time we have left in coming soon, whatever. So we got that, everybody, I hope, but the questions keep coming. So until you're really doing one, I get it. But when you ask me the 5th and 6th time on MLS rules, let me familiarize yourself with the welcome screen at Columbus Realtors. And your MLS screen, which has MLS rules and regulations, always there. Always there. In fact, your daily pop-up, any change that would come to a rule is there in red in the left-hand corner. If you go into MLS,
MLS 10.
logged in.
Here?
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry. I don't know it. I don't know my nerd's number.
Well, anyway, everybody knows what I'm talking about. When you log into MLS,
Mm,
announcements. So there's red stuff.
If
If there would be any major change, it would be there.
They have a really nice clear cooperation versus coming soon simplified.
Yep.
I have it posted.
It was all there. But I know what happens. I'll just call Lori. I know.
At least we're calling.
I know, but we have resources that we could look at first to refresh our mind. It's all given there to us, so. I always answer your phone call, you know I do. But sometimes in the heat of the moment, I know what happens. But the rules are there, and then I say that particularly for admins. You could, like, instruct your team, let's go over the rules. Would be good for a team meeting sometime, topic. Let's go over rules. What am I doing? What are you doing? It's all good. So that's compliance, A to Z, or how not to have stuff returned.
Or get fined.
Good?
Very helpful.
All right. We're done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We got Ernest coming up,
What time is that?
2:00. Time for lunch.
Did you already do the buyer one?
Yeah, we did.
But, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I did, I used dot loop,
Uh-huh,
so I did the dot loop first.
uh-huh.
Now I'm in contract. So
Yay.
now I need to,
Submit it into command.
right, so can I get a quick?
We just
Quick help
did
with
that,
Okay.
but yeah.
How do I update the documents to command? I have to do them one at a time?
Yes, you do
Okay.
now because you didn't start it in command.
Got you, okay.
Yes,
This
you
is
have
way
to
to
create
Drop 'em.
PDFs and drop them
Create
in.
okay. I got you.
Okay,
Okay.
all
no
right,
problem.
okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Anything new that grabbed you or?
Yeah.
Was it helpful?
48 hours.
Clarification, yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, the listing agreements, I see people signing on the left-hand side and under the remarks and,
I think it's templated that way. So
yes.
That's
Yeah.
all.
Okay. I wondered why that was. That's what it's for. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Oh.
Everybody okay there and
That's-
Stephen,
Even though now you have a bunch of paperwork.
It's something.